Donald Trump is not yet done dancing on Pam Bondi's grave, and there is a really good reason for it. But he is certainly not the only one. You see Republicans taking their shots at Pam Bondi. You see commentators taking their shots at Pam Bondi. An entire news outlet, a propaganda outlet, is taking a shot at Pam Bondi because Pam was just kicked a fox for eternity. And we are going to get into that and what this means for the narrative that Donald Trump is trying to construct around his former Attorney General, how he is trying to save himself and protect himself, to build a barrier around himself and place all the blame on Bondi. Republicans are trying to make that happen right now by pretending they're critiquing the administration. I want to talk about that as well as what Lauren Boebert said that fits into all of this. But before we get to Bondi getting kicked off Fox, we do have to start with the other humiliation leaking out about her, the fact that she was begging Donald Trump to keep her job. Now we know that happened, but there is new reporting on how bad it was, that I want to start with before we get to Fox and Bondi getting. Bondi's humiliating last-ditch bid to keep her job exposed. The ousted Attorney General made several face-saving moves, but ultimately the president's mind was made up. Fired former Attorney General Pam Bondi made a desperate ploy to keep her job even after Donald Trump informed her that her axing was coming soon. A new report alleges Trump broke the bad news to Bondi as they rode together to the Supreme Court on Wednesday, saying, "I think it's time," sources tell CNN. The 60-year-old asked to keep her job through the summer, but to no avail. Bondi did not let on what she had reportedly just learned. Instead, she entered the Supreme Court at her boss's side, smiling as they exited the beast. However, with her words not enough, CNN reports that then Bondi then made a last-ditch effort to save her job, meeting with a federal prosecutor in Florida and inquiring about when charges can be brought against one of Donald Trump's political enemies, former CIA Director John Brennan. CNN reports that Bondi met with U.S. Attorney Jason Reading. Keenan Kionis, who cautioned that? His prosecutors felt that Brennan's case was not ready to be brought to the grand jury. By the time Trump announced that Bondi was out on Thursday, she had already fled Washington and returned to her native Tampa, Florida. Bondi later became emotional as she spoke to friends and colleagues about her exit. According to the New York Times, CNN reported that despite Bondi's pleas to remain in the position, the job took a toll on her as she was asked to target Trump's political enemies. This reportedly includes the prosecution of James Comey, Letitia James, and Adam Schiff. Bondi tried to save face online and make it appear as though the decision was mutual, posting on Twitter that she would soon be moving to an important private sector role I am thrilled about. Okay, Trump did not bother to give Bondi the sort of made-up government position he gave to Christine Noel, who is now Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Whatever the fuck that means. There were hints of Trump's displeasure with Bondi's her lack of progress in prosecuting foes. In September, he took his frustrations public, posting on Truth Social, but appeared to be a private message he sent to Pam, saying that I refused over 30 statements and posts, saying that essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam, Schiff, Letitia James? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is being done. So, obviously Donald Trump was upset with Pam Bondi because of her botching of the Epstein files, because she was humiliating herself in public, because she was not able to get Donald Trump what he wanted in terms of prosecutions of his political opponents. But I think the public-facing problem was the biggest one for Trump. Before we get to what Fox did to Bondi via the White House, listen to what they had to say about her before her hearing before the Judiciary Committee. So Bondi was kicked off air. She was banned from appearing on Fox of all places. The Fox propaganda outlet Pam Bondi was kicked off of. Not allowed, don't go. And I suspect in the future they will not be having her back. So Pam Bondi has been banned from the Fox propaganda outlet. That is why Donald Trump fired her, because she was so inept about propagandizing for him. She just couldn't do it. That Fox wasn't even a suitable location for Pam Bondi to go. Do we know how crazy that is? Pam Bondi was so bad at lying on behalf of Donald Trump, lying to protect the Epstein class, lying to protect pedos, that she couldn't even make it on Fox without flubbing? That is a historic level of fuck-uppery, and it is why I said it was interesting that Todd Blanche had taken over responsibilities for Pam Bondi months ago. And even at that time, I said this is suggesting to me that Bondi's gonna be out soon. Because if she can't handle the public scrutiny, what is she there for? For Donald Trump? Because she certainly was not making any moves in terms of putting his political opponents in jail. But this is also very important, the backlash coming out against Bondi from MAGA, from Trump world, from the MAGA media. Because what they are trying to do is put all of this on her, say the Epstein files. That was Pam Bondi. It's her fault. These prosecutions of political opponents. That was Pam Bondi. It's not like Donald Trump was just going after people because Bondi just screwed it up. That's the point that they're trying to make. They're trying to communicate in what seems like criticisms of the administration, but they're not. That Pam Bondi was just so bad at her job. Why else would Lauren Boebert be saying this? When even Fox is saying that Pam Bondi is an embarrassment and Donald Trump is always watching the Five. He's always watching Fox. You know, that's going to break through. You know, he's going to hear it. You know, he's going to internalize it. You know, he's going to say something about it. And that is the reason that Pam Bondi lost her job. Because she couldn't face the public, she couldn't do the shows. And that's actually what the White House demanded. And what Fox made happen, her permanently being banned from air. Bondi blocked from Fox News interviews over Epstein outrage. Pam Bondi was temporarily forbidden by the White House from doing Fox News interviews at the height of the public's outrage over the Epstein files. CNN reports, Todd Blanche, her deputy, who has now taken over for her job after her firing this week, was tasked with handling public messaging while her own performance was under scrutiny. Her tenure as Attorney General never fully recovered from a primetime flub in her first month on the job, and which she told Fox that a client list of Jeffrey Epstein's was sitting on my desk right now. According to the report, that statement hugely overpromised and was popular among Trump's base at the time. It aged like milk. Though the Justice Department and the FBI wrote in a joint memo in July that no client list existed, that there was no evidence Epstein blackmailed high-profile associates, and that evidence pointed to Epstein taking his own life. The memo contradicted Bondi's promise to deliver answers about Epstein's clients, which she told Fox months earlier. Americans have a right to know. The issue of the Epstein files would explode shortly after fracturing the Maccabees and leading to immense pressure on lawmakers to pass legislation that ordered the files' release. Others in the Trump administration immediately spotted an issue with Bondi's doomed Fox appearance on February 21st, and that the misstep only spiraled out of control after Congress passed the law mandating the release of the files. So Bondi was kicked off air, she was banned from appearing on Fox of all places. The Fox propaganda outlet Pam Bondi was kicked off of, not allowed, don't go. And I suspect in the future they will not be having her back. So Pam Bondi has been banned from the Fox propaganda outlet. That is why Donald Trump fired her, because she was so inept about propagandizing for him. She just couldn't do it. That Fox wasn't even a suitable location for Pam Bondi to go. Do we know how crazy that is? Pam Bondi was so bad at lying on behalf of Donald Trump, lying to protect the Epstein class, lying to protect pedos, that she couldn't even make it on Fox without flubbing? That is a historic level of fuck-uppery, and it is why I said it was interesting that Todd Blanche had taken over responsibilities for Pam Bondi months ago. And even at that time, I said this is suggesting to me that Bondi's gonna be out soon. Because if she can't handle the public scrutiny, what is she there for? For Donald Trump? Because she certainly was not making any moves in terms of putting his political opponents in jail. But this is also very important, the backlash coming out against Bondi from MAGA, from Trump world, from the MAGA media. Because what they are trying to do is put all of this on her, say the Epstein files. That was Pam Bondi. It's her fault. These prosecutions of political opponents. That was Pam Bondi. It's not like Donald Trump was just going after people because Bondi just screwed it up. That's the point that they're trying to make. They're trying to communicate in what seems like criticisms of the administration, but they're not. That Pam Bondi was just so bad at her job. Why else would Lauren Boebert be saying this? Lauren Boebert tweeted the day Pam Bondi was fired. Dow fell below 50,000 question mark. So obviously Lauren Boebert is poking a little bit of fun at Pam Bondi, trying to mock her, trying to get her shots in. But why? Why would Lauren Boebert be doing that? Why is she criticizing the administration? Is it because she's such a trailblazer? Is it, oh my gosh, outside the mainstream? No, she's not. That is the whole point. These people have to couch their criticisms of the administration and people in the periphery, and that removes all of Donald Trump's agency. It infantilizes him. They pretend that he is not responsible for anything that happens. Somehow he's the most powerful strongman in the world, but also Pam Bondi is the one dictating everything. The DOJ was never a separate, like it was never separate from Donald Trump's, fascist regime, right? That there was no separation there. It is not like a normal administration. And so this idea that Pam Bondi failed rather than Donald Trump was a madman, and he instructed her to do all of these things, and he was the one in charge of this cover-up, that he was directing it all, is nonsensical and insane. But Republicans need to spin it that way. Someone like Lauren Boebert needs to spin it that way to protect their leader. That is what they are after with a campaign that will continue to humiliate Pam Bondi. That is why this leak is coming out of her being banned from Fox, kicked off air entirely. Because they want to say this is Pam Bondi's fault, and they want to get some cheap shots. They want to get some cheap points that make it seem like they're trailblazers, that they'll stand outside and tell it like it is. But the problem for the next AG that comes in is they will run into these same issues. You are still beholden to Donald Trump. You are still working on behalf of him for whatever illegal expedition he goes on. Ari Melber broke it down perfectly.
Now, that's often because Trump's demands are flatly illegal: troops in the streets, global tariffs without Congress, abusing power to try to indict critics with no evidence. So Bondi's demise is also a story about the courts working. And sometimes the way these things go down and the way the Washington elites and some of the media, quite frankly, talk about it, we can miss that. We get into the personalities or what's happening next before making sure we understand that 14 months just went by. There was a lot of failures. You see just a slight selection, handful of headlines about those failures on your screen. But this is a story as well about the courts working, albeit slowly. It's a story and a development about Trump losing, admitting it in public, having to replace his AG, and the rule of law holding. Bondi did not win a single case in Trump's vendetta to try to make the DOJ a sword against enemies, and Politico reports that was part of Trump's decision to oust her. And the good news for the rule of law tonight is that Bondi's replacement faces the exact same judges, courts, and rules of evidence that dealt her all of these losses in an almost absurdly long list of Trump enemies. Well, we've put this up before. Tonight it has a new relevance, but over the 14 months, they've opened all these cases. The green stamps show DOJ cases that already fell apart. Some others remain open as lawmakers are subpoenaed and harassed, journalists and government vets awaiting trial. So let me be clear about what this news means. It's a sign of a legally sick DOJ that so many of these faltering and failed cases were ever opened at all.
The next AG will still have these problems, and the next AG will get criticized by MAGA. Why Donald Trump did this? And I've pushed a lot of not push conspiracies. I've given my take in plenty of videos on why I think that Donald Trump is going to try to do a 2-month, 2-week, whatever. It might be Epstein's sprint, but it is because he needed a new person to plug in and criticize. He needed a fresh face who can take this heat, because that's what MAGA does. They are not champions for standing up to Pam Bondi. They are bullshitting, and we are going to continue to point that out on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.